Hey, hello, good evening. Welcome to the Speakeasy. I'm your barkeeper, Jeff Belanger. And today's Monday, not just any Monday. This is the start to a brand new week, a week full of possibilities, a week that you get to define. So no matter what kind of day you've had so far, I'm pretty glad that you stopped by the Speakeasy to join us for a drink or two. Did you guys have a good weekend? I did. Thanks for asking. I'm sure that's what you were going to say next. I did have a good weekend. I got to get out with the family to the West End Creamery, which is this pretty cool place near me, homemade local ice cream. And though we had to wear masks while waiting in line, which feels weird, and we had to stay 6 feet apart. I love this. They tell you stay 1 cow length apart, which is logical, makes sense. Once we got the ice cream and we got to go off into the grass a little bit by ourselves and take our masks off and eat ice cream under like a summer sun, it felt a little bit of normal. And I can't recommend a little bit of normal enough. And speaking of feeling normal and social, please like and share this post right now. Start a watch party so your friends can join us here in the Speakeasy. And one other reminder, my summer story tour is rolling on. If you go to my website, jeffbelanger.com, you can see dates. These are all now virtual. You can attend via Zoom meeting. Most of them are free. You just got to sign up and register, and we can hang out and swap really weird stories. So I was saying we need some normal right now, and we need something that feels familiar, something we can count on, something or someone like tonight's guest. Tonight's guest in the Speakeasy, someone who's been around the paranormal for like more than 40 years, someone who's just about seen and done it all, to the point where we call him the Godfather of the paranormal. Please welcome my buddy from Connecticut, the original Jay-Z, John Zaffis.
Hey, buddy. Good to be on.
Good to be anywhere. Am I right?
You got that right.
So,
you got that right.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, folks, wherever you're calling from, checking in from, tell us what you're drinking, where you're from. We'll put it up on the screen. Hello from Connecticut. Hello from Milwaukee. Good to see you. John Zaffis, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm joining you with my Coors Light, buddy.
Coors Light. I knew you wouldn't let me down. I'm going Sam Adams because I don't, it's like 3 of yours, but whatever. Cheers.
Cheers, bud.
So remember doing stuff and going places? Remember that?
Yeah. It's rough because all of us are social people and we like intermingling. And I think one of the things right now that, I miss more than anything is when we're out doing our conventions and we're all at the bar, we're all hanging out, just chit-chatting and joking around. I miss that so much right now.
That's what we're doing right now, John. That's the whole point. This is this. That's what this is. It's like the next best thing. It's been all day. Look, hello from Michigan, drinking an ice cold Coke. Good for you. Good from everybody. Yeah. So Carl's in the UK.
Hey.
So we got Canada checking in, Massachusetts. So good to see everybody. This is the point, man. This is what we can do. We can hang out. We can have a drink this way. So that's what we're going to do. So tell me about owning a haunted museum in a time when no one can come see it and you can't get out.
Well, everybody keeps asking me too. They go, is the activity really ramped up in there? Jeff, I really don't know because I don't go in it. It's closed up. I don't really go downstairs because the whole museum's on the lower level of the barn.
Right.
So, I'll go down, open the windows, let air in and everything, and I'll be like, it kind of feels a little weird down here right now. I haven't really done anything. I haven't tried any EVPs or anything around the items, but you got to remember, we're going on months now that everything's just been basically quiet and not too much action going on. But I'll tell you what, buddy, once everything does open up, man, those spirits, they're going to be joining us for a beer. I know they are.
They're in cyberspace. So I had a reporter contact me recently and say, do you think paranormal activities ramped up because we're all under quarantine? And my comment was, I mean, the world slowed down. We paused, right? So when you're going a mile a minute, you're on your phone right till bedtime and you're doing this and that and all this noise. Maybe you're not noticing the things that have been around you this whole time, but now that it's quiet and your phone's not ringing off the hook, you're not working, you're home, and you suddenly start going, what was that? Yeah. Right? I've lived here 5 years. What was that? Are you getting more calls? Are you hearing more activity?
Absolutely. Again, too, A key thing with me, I walk. I'm always walking. I love to go out to walk, and I'm noticing things and paying more attention to things,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy. And even I notice now a lot of times I'll spend time out on my back deck and just sit there because who wants to watch the news? Nobody. But anyways, it's like, it's just tuning in more to what has been happening. And Jeff, for the first time in many years, just sitting out there and looking at that full moon. Got to see 3 of them in a row. That's a biggie. And just, taking it all in for me, it's been cool. But have I seen where a lot of things are escalating? Yes. And the biggest thing with a lot of it is because everybody's confined, and we're seeing and we're experiencing things that we normally, like you just said, we don't pay attention to. So again, I think once the doors open, the floodgates open back up, there's going to be a lot that is occurring and happening. And I think documentation is going to go right through the roof too.
Well, I hope so, right? Because I'm dying to do something, man.
Oh man, don't say that. Don't say that.
No, those cases before someone calls and they're like, and I know, no offense to you wonderful people that like, look, my house has a cold spot in it. And you go, yeah, what else? Well, that's all, just a cold spot. Well, now I'd be like, I'll be right over. Is there beer in the fridge? Right?
Huh?
Stuff that you may not have looked into before. But yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, we're suddenly paying attention to our environment. And man, so we live in a time when we are subjected to so much more information than ever in human history, ever. Go back 100 years ago, your neighbors said like, oh, the cow had a baby this morning, right? Like whatever, like that was the breaking news. And now you've got it just zapping at you from every direction to the point where you cannot get your mind quiet. And now there's been this like weird settling, and I'm curious how we come out of this, like as a whole species here. I don't know, man. I've been working on my house. I've been working on me. What have you been working on?
Eating.
That's the COVID-19. That's the 19.
That's what I keep saying. I got the 19. I picked it up.
Yeah.
We working on another new book. We just released What Lurks Within, and it came out perfect timing. So with this downtime, we've been able to work a lot more on that, getting some of the stories together with Debbie and Larry Elward. So, it's been cool on being able to do that, and actually just taking the time and sorting through things that I normally don't do. I'm even out cutting my own grass. I'm weeding again. I mean,
weeding. We got to do what we got to do.
Got to do what we got to do to keep busy. So again, just doing that and just taking it back in and just taking it light. It feels good. But on the flip side of it, man, when Fridays and Saturdays roll around, I go, what? I got to get on the road. I got to get on the road.
Yeah. I know. Look, I want to talk about the early days because I've said all along that I credit a big part of my interest in the paranormal was growing up with your aunt and uncle, Ed and Lorraine Warren. I mean, I knew them since I was like 12 because I lived in Newtown. They were in Monroe. I went to their talks. I went to their museum. I remember when you had hair, like it was all those years ago. And what was it like? Tell me about little Johnny Z, like growing up, like around that. What was it like in like your teenage years?
You remember? Yeah. See, you remember me when I had my hair real long. It was thick and curly.
Yeah.
You said that to me one day, and I stood there and I looked at you, and I busted out laughing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hippie.
Yes, I was. I'm very proud of it too. I grew up in the '70s, and I don't say too much.
No. No further questions on that.
What was the question you asked me, bro?
teenage John Zaffis around Ed and Lorraine Warren. What kind of influence do they have on you? At what point did they say, like, let's tell you about the family business, John?
Well, I would say it was in the '70s when I knew a lot of it, and I was familiar with some of the things they did. Now, one of the key things with that is it was random. Everything was always very random. Now, I only live like 20 minutes from where they are. Mm-hmm. And once I got my license and everything, my mom would always ask me to bring family dishes up for Ed. So, she would cook things. So, stuffed cabbage or pierogies or something. And, I would just bring them up. And a lot of times they'd be in the midst of getting ready to just go to a case or something. And he would always say, come on, go with us. And just randomly, I would go and do a lot of these different things with them. And now we'd never ever really say anything. And here's a crazy story, Jeff, that I remembered not that long ago. Being home, I'm starting to remember a lot of things, which I'm happy about.
Oh, good.
And we went to this cottage near a lake, and that these people were having all kinds of problems, and it focused around a dollhouse.
Hmm.
And they had removed the dollhouse. I don't know whatever happened to the dollhouse. I know they brought it back home, but I don't know where it ended up. But I can remember Ed doing, different prayers and rituals. Lorraine was going around the perimeter with salt, and I completely forgot all about. And I had to be 17, 18 years old. Now, when I get into my 20s is when I really got involved with the work. And that's when I started doing investigating and getting to meet a lot of different people. And the exposure to a lot of it was, meeting rabbis, priests, ministers, shamans, medicine men, and some of the other occult practices I got to witness too, because, hey, what the heck? You're going to go out and see things. You got to see it all.
In for a dime, in for a dollar. Yeah.
So
Right.
I got to see a lot of unique things and everything. But for me, it was always different because I didn't view them as Ed and Lorraine Warren. They were my aunt and uncle.
Right.
So I always looked at it differently and didn't look at it to the perspective of when Ed went down. And that's when I just started looking at it differently and just was like, wow, that was one hell of a freaking crazy roller coaster thing that you just never knew, and it was exciting. And I was glad I was exposed to a lot of that. Later on, he had said to me, he goes, I always knew you were going to end up getting involved with this. And I go, well, how did you know it? I said, it was the farthest thing from my mind.
Yeah.
I said, I just thought it was cool hanging out with you guys, my aunt and uncle, and you're out chasing freaking ghosts. So, that's how I viewed it. And that's how I actually got going. And then when I decided I wanted to know, okay, I witnessed a lot of these things, seen a lot of these things. Now I want to know, does some of this stuff really happen? That's when I started diving into it.
So tell me about an early experience where you said, okay, this isn't just like woo woo and prayers and whatever. This is, you saw something move, you felt something. How does that change? I mean, you were raised Catholic, right? I mean,
Yes.
that was your background. So at what point do you go, ooh, wait, they didn't talk about this from the pulpit? Like, what was that moment?
That was when I'd say I was 18 or 19 years old. And that's when I seen there were 4 or 5 priests. We were up at a monastery and they were doing this ritual, an exorcism actually over this individual. Watched Lorraine sitting there doing her prayers and doing everything. And I was over here with Ed. And it was just what the person did and how the person was reacting that made me take that step back and, look at it and get that to go through my mind. But I really, what even still intrigued
so
me.
Hold on a second. So hold on. So you believed that person wasn't just acting. You believed this was real.
This was real.
Right.
This was real because the person started coming out with things, talking and saying things, even saying things to me that nobody would have even known, Jeff. There was no way. Now, you got to remember, I'm going back to before the internet, cell phones, everything.
Yeah.
We didn't have, where we could check on people and things like we can today. So, but that stuck in my mind. Now, one key thing that was very influential, I think, now that I look back at it, was my uncle would just throw me into situations.
Right.
Just here, go do this. Hey,
fate,
go talk.
right?
Go talk to this person.
Hey, Jim, not me.
Yeah, and again, I would walk back and I could just remember, I would just say to him, what the hell did you get me involved with this for? And he'd bust out laughing. And he would always say at the conclusion of it, what did you get out of that?
Yeah.
And and a lot of times I'd be like, you don't make sense. It doesn't register with me. But anyhow, that's what got me exposed with it. And believe it or not, Jeff, to this day, do you know what still fascinates me more than anything? Poltergeist cases.
Okay.
Psychic kinetic energy.
So
how people can manifest it.
How it's coming from living people, not dead ones, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that is, I mean, to me, just as worthy of study as anything else, right? I mean, because imagine if you could harness that, right? God.
Well, yeah, no, I believe certain people have that capability.
Right.
Because I've just seen it too many times where, things would move and the people would sit there, but you could see where people concentrate a lot with
Yeah.
poltergeist cases and psychic kinetic energy. How do they harness that? Because I don't think it's all demonic. I don't look at it that way.
Right.
So again, with the influence of tying in with that, the study of poltergeist cases still intrigue me to this day.
No, I get that. And so I'm curious too. So you're 18, 19, you're getting thrown into this stuff, but at that point you're like, I can't feed myself or buy a car with this work, right? So like what kind of work do you go into while you do this on the side? What's the first like real job?
Well, for 36, 37 years, I was in the pharmaceutical industry. I used to
You were
work,
a drug dealer.
probably have twice as much money now. But no, it was, the developing and a lot. I worked for U.S. Surgical.
Yep.
I was involved with mechanical engineering, and it was developing a lot of the laparoscopic stuff that is used today that
Hmm.
they put in. I was right in the beginning stages of all that, Jeff, when they were manufacturing that, just starting to create it and everything. So to me, in the dissolving staples, believe it or not, I was on the forefront of a lot of that stuff. So, again, I did have a normal type
Yeah.
career that, I did for many years. Then when everything downsized, I was like, the kids are grown up now, got laid off. I got to find something to do with my time. That's when I started going out lecturing and just
Yeah.
started moving forward with everything.
It's so I think about Ed and Lorraine. My memory of them is always just like sweet people, right? Great story. Ed, a fantastic storyteller, heart's in the right place. But also like controversial at times, and I get it.
Oh,
Boy,
absolutely.
did
Yeah.
they hate the Ouija board? Oh my God, that poor Ouija board. What did
They
the
were
Ouija board do
petrified.
to them?
I know. I know.
Yeah,
We would even get into it,
yeah,
And as you know, you and I have one of the bestest friends, Merch.
yeah, sure. Yeah,
I mean, I sat in one time and watched his presentation,
yeah.
and he was fumbling and going back and forth and everything up there. And afterwards, we're out in the hallway and everything, and he goes, "Well, what did you think?" I said, "Dude, I love the way you presented it, the history, the facts, and all the stuff that has to go with it." I
Yeah.
said, it was phenomenal. He grabbed me and gave me the biggest bear hug, dude. I'm telling you, right?
Yeah.
But again, do I think it is the Ouija board? No, it's the individuals that use it like any other device that we use to do communication. You can't bring spirit through. But I think the Ouija really got a bum rap just from the movie The Exorcist, and that's when it really escalated.
Of course. And then,
Yeah,
but I've told you this story. Like I was in their kitchen, Ed and Lorraine's kitchen in Monroe, and
yeah,
I was interviewing them for a newspaper. This was before internet, really, right? The
yeah,
phone rang the whole time, right? So I was mainly talking to Ed, and Lorraine's over there on the phone.
yeah,
Bring this same conversation 10 times in 1 hour.
yeah,
Hello? Uh-huh. Oh, honey, that sounds bad. Oh, honey, is there a Ouija board in the house, honey? Oh, honey, you got to get rid of that. Like, okay, bye bye. Click, bring. Like the same conversation would happen again and again. And I'm
yeah,
like, boy, she's really hating on that Ouija board. But at the same time, like that was something they could focus on. And I've seen them talk to people. I've seen their presentations, and it's amazing. Like
yeah,
it's the stuff they presented. So
yeah.
once you start going out on the road, I know that created a rift with them, right? I mean, that was trouble, right? Between you and your aunt and uncle. Once
No,
you were
no,
getting
not really, because Ed always encouraged me.
okay,
Ed always wanted me to move forward, especially I'd say it was in 2000, just before he went down and everything. We were starting to set things up. We were trying to, get it where I was starting to go. Now, the way I got into actually lecturing, see, this is cool. I'm glad we're talking about, because
yes,
everybody thinks it was a
get it
big
out, get
rift.
it out.
Yeah, think it was a big rift, and it really wasn't. He was like, "Go for it, go for it." One of the very first exposures I ever had to speaking was in front of 1,000 people. Ed
That's a
and
lot.
Lorraine were doing a lecture. I wanted to say, I think it was Waterbury, Connecticut. Anyhow, he tells me I'm getting up there. That's all I did. Lorraine flew up on that stage, and she took right over and started talking and everything. The three of us were driving home that evening. He goes, "What did you learn from that?" And we just got into this screaming match. And And Lorraine had said to me at that point in time, she says, "This is what I want you to do. I want you to get more, acclimated, being able to talk in front of people and blah, 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 blah." And it was interesting the way it would go back and forth.
So
So it was never the fact, Jeff, where they would ever say to me, "Don't speak," or "Don't do this," or "Don't do that." Lorraine a lot of times was very concerned on how, because she knew my way of looking at things was a lot different from what the way they looked at everything.
sure.
She was very well aware of that. So she was always concerned more so than with anything else when it came to me going out and speaking and stuff.
No, I get it. And I know too that it's a funny business, right? The paranormal.
Yeah,
And when I say
yeah,
business, I mean the part where like people are earning money and competing for limited resources, because seriously, it's really hard to make a living in the paranormal.
yes,
And I mean, unless you're like a charlatan psychic, and then it's probably pretty darn easy, but I can't do it. I don't have it, right? And I know you don't either. You've never professed such a thing.
yeah.
So you hustle and you try to sell books and you try to provide lectures and work on television shows, because those are things that people can voluntarily pay you to do,
Hmm.
to be entertained, to be informed, whatever. And that's a hustle, and I get it, and I've done it. And I just want to say, as far as Ed teaching you how to public speak, just be thankful he didn't teach you how to swim. Right? There's the lake. In you go.
Nah,
Good luck.
my father did that, and I almost drowned.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a whole through line here where
Yeah,
that's how you learn to do something, trial by fire, right?
yeah,
No, I
yeah,
get it. So let's move into some of the haunted objects, because I know they had their museum, and that was a fascinating place. You've got your museum.
yeah.
I've always struggled with this. I've had this conversation with you before. How does an object get haunted? And let's start with, you sent me a picture, and this one is sort of world famous, right? Robert the Doll down in Key
Yeah.
West, Florida.
Yep.
By the way, did you? There's a legend here, right? Did you ask permission to take that picture?
No. No.
Oh, so you know the story, right?
Yes, I do.
You're supposed to ask Robert's permission, the doll,
Yes.
before you photograph him, or
Yes.
else. And I
Yeah.
want to know, since you didn't ask, what was the or else?
Well, I wasn't too concerned about it for the simple fact that I didn't take the picture; somebody else did.
A loophole.
A loophole.
There are
It was one of
loopholes.
those loopholes. But I mean, the stories and the legends that tie. That's why I was fascinated when I spotted that picture today. Um, that surround that doll are so surreal. I mean, how many people actually, he was a very wealthy man that, the doll was made for, etc. And that he created when he got married a bedroom for the doll. It had its own bedroom and everything. And, again, I think with this, that's where it ties in with people giving recognition to certain things. Do I believe energy can be connected with items? Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind by that. What does it take to trigger something when it comes to a quote unquote haunted item? Because I don't think they're possessed,
Okay.
but I think energy can attach to it just like a house or just like the land. Only people and animals could be possessed. So with that, I think that there was so much recognition that was given to Robert the Doll that a tremendous stays with it. Now, I believe very strongly, even with haunted locations, houses, or items, that when people's energy intermingle is what can trigger things and can cause activity to occur. There's no doubt in my mind that that occurs. Now, why do I feel that way? Is because so many times we all go to these haunted locations, we do our investigations. I've heard people say, geez, we had our whole team in there and we got absolutely nothing. Then you'll hear another group goes in and, the roof gets blown off of the place. Why? I believe it takes certain energy, certain people that combine together that can trigger these things to occur and happen. So I think that's a lot what that occurs with Robert the Doll.
And I get it. And the whole idea of like feng shui or psychometry, like you walk into someone's house and you're like, this just doesn't feel right. Not saying it's haunted or not haunted. There's just some feel or vibe to it.
The
And
energy.
also how some items that you're in an antique. Sometimes I look for old junk that I can upcycle into something else.
Uh-huh.
And I got this this old Victrola, like the old, no, it's
Oh,
an
yeah.
old Edison like crank thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is cool. I'm gonna use it as like a piece of furniture. And every room I put it in, John, like, it didn't feel right. And it cost me $25. It was not a big
Yeah.
investment. It was junk. I had to clean it up and polish it up. And then I put it in another room, and I'm like, it's just, I had to get rid of it. Right. And I can't, I'm not telling you it's possessed or anything, but I'm just telling you that it should have worked. It's just furniture. It's just a block. And yet wherever I put that damn thing, it felt weird. And I have no clue of its history. I got it in an old junky salvage thing. And I was sort of glad to be rid of it. So I don't know. So I understand the whole energy attached to it. I don't think there's a spirit attached to that, but I understand there could have been a vibe or an energy attached to it that just did not work in my house at all. So yeah, no, it's a weird thing. Now your museum, how do people visit? Well, one day when they can again, they just make appointments with you, right? And
yeah, well, that's what I was doing. But at this point in time, I'm still searching. I'm looking for that right location that I can afford and put the museum in it, get it set up, get it structured, so that museum can keep going after I'm gone. Because, here it's just on the property in a big barn, and again, it's something that I'd like to see happen before I turn into a ghost.
So that's the right. So I know I was at the Michigan Paracon. I think it was 2 years ago. You got like a lifetime achievement thing.
Yeah.
Which by the way, I would have been offended. I would have been like, hey, I got a ways to go here, right? Like, right. Give me a few more years. But at some point, do you start thinking about your legacy? I mean, you just started now, right? I mean, but what do you think of it?
Well, I think the key thing is, have several books to my credit, did a TV show, I have the museum and everything. Hopefully I can get all that established so it can just keep going on after I'm gone. I mean, that to me, that is an important element. And the only thing that when I get asked, what do I always want to be remembered for or anything like that, it's just that, hey, you know what? He was a good old Joe, and he would always just try to help people. That's the only thing that's the only thing, buddy, I ever, really look at and say, I want people to walk away and just say, he never took advantage of anybody. He never really, because I don't, I just walk away from situations usually. So that's probably how I'd like to see my legacy continue and go on. And, hopefully I'll come back and communicate with a few people, but people say, well, don't you want to come, don't you want to come back and haunt everybody? Hell no. I did this for the past, upteen years, getting involved with this field and everything. I want to be on my fluffy cloud and just float around.
But that would help us. Like, John, if you came back and gave me this like great EVP that's just like, buy Jeff's books, watch this speakeasy, he's got great guests. Like, that would help me a lot. I mean, do me a solid, right? Just okay. One.
All right, you got it, buddy.
Just one.
You got it, buddy.
Is this work you retire from? Do you think like this day that we're going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to take up bocce with the old guys down there on the coast of Connecticut? Nope, you go down swinging?
No, and my biggest reason for that is because I'm still on that quest. We have too many things we don't understand. We have to, again, so many unsolved mysteries with the supernatural. Again, as we keep going forward, there's new discoveries, there's new finds, there's new things that people are getting involved with. I enjoy seeing so many of the different pieces of equipment that everybody uses. They're documenting things. I'm terrible at that. I admit it. I'm so freaking old world with so much stuff, but I am so enthused with all that. And as long as I can keep going and, I'm not down that road of ticky, ticky, tock, tock, I'll keep going. I'll just keep going because I enjoy being around everybody.
Yeah.
So again, when that day comes and, they finally tell me they gotta lock me up and keep me in the house because I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore, then I'll retire.
What's fun too is like you're a fun guy, John, but you're also open-minded. And I know I've been on ghost investigations with you. We're at events and you got your group and I got mine and we switched things and all that stuff. And I remember I think it was at Waverly Hills in Louisville. It actually doesn't matter where we were. The story could apply anywhere. They were doing the flashlight thing where you unscrew the flashlight and it flashes and you say, come on, flash, keep flash, just flash once. And you wait a half hour and then it flashes and they go, there. Okay, now flash again. and someone was just riveted with this flashlight, talking to it like it was a direct line to grandma. And I look at you and you look at me and you just go, and it was not a disrespectful thing. It was not, it was just like, I don't see it. They do. It's cool. Right. Like that's what that look said to me. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't going to piss on it, but you also weren't going to endorse it. You were just, hey, you do you, right?
Yeah. It's like that with anything. I'll watch and I see, and it amazes me some of the things that people will experience or they'll have going on, and I'll just stand there and go, okay. But again, you don't want to discourage people.
No. And
In
you don't.
any way, yeah, because again, that's one of the key things, and I always tell people this: when we do these ghosty ghost hunts, when we go to these locations, people want to have a good time. They want to have experiences. I mean, how many times all of us are there, and people just start asking us 1,000,001 questions? How in the world are you going to do an EVP session or ghost box session or do anything when all of us are there chit chatting? It's very difficult.
Yeah,
but there are those times, Jeff. I have to say, I'll take the step back, and certain people will start getting, things coming through, experiences will start happening. And I go, whoa, then I quiet down too. That's the intriguing part about it. But again, with the flashlight thing, I'm still amazed by it because I'll watch it when some people do it. It goes on and off, on and off. And then I'll watch other people and it doesn't do anything. And then I'll just be like, what am I missing? Yeah, but
no, I'm with you, man. So there's stuff that like the ghost, the spirit box. It eludes me. It eludes me entirely. That I've been in the room where someone's like, it just said your name, and I'm like, oh, I was right next to you. I didn't hear it. They said no, it said Jeff Belanger, and I'm like, I didn't. I just heard, and I'm like, maybe the message was for you to listen to me and not that.
Yeah,
but
I know.
And I get it, but this gets to be like a spiritual discussion, right? It's like me saying, oh, no, that religious medal you wear around your neck isn't right. You should wear the one I wear. And what do I know? And what do you know? And, it's what works for you, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Well, okay, here's a good one. Because I know you'll love this one. When people walk up to us and they show us a psychic photograph.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And you get this whole story that goes along with it. And then you stand there and you look at these people and you go, you don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to discourage them. What I do now is I'll go, that is the most interesting thing in the world I've seen. What do you think it is? And I take off.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't want to discourage somebody. If they think it's grandma or grandpa, it is what it is.
This MJ from the UK says, look at my orb photo. I see grandma's face in the orb.
There's Opa. That's Opa.
That's it. Yeah. So, and I get it, right? I get it. And I learned long ago where I'm like, oh, that just looks like lens flare. You took a picture and the sun's right there and it's just, boop, 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 boop. And they go, it's my Uncle Larry, you insensitive jerk. And I go, oh, now I see the resemblance. And it doesn't matter. That's the thing, right? What does it matter what you think or what I think? People want validation and they want some sort of physical sign where they can say, I believe Uncle Larry's still out there. And here's a photo I took. And that's my connection. And to that, I say, fine, that's your connection. But you don't need me to tell you that's your connection. You believe it, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's enough. And there's things that I take as a spiritual sign for me that I know sound ridiculous to other people to the point where I don't even say it anymore, but it's enough for me and it's okay. Right. And it's personal. And that's what spirituality is at the end, right? It's so personal for all of us.
Well, that again, too, all of us, because so many of us are good friends, people don't realize that, it's got nothing to do with the shows or anything else. And it is that when a lot of us talk and we get involved with the different aspects of our spiritual beliefs and everything. That's very personal for each and every one of us. A lot of us are very personal with that. You could think and do whatever you want. That's fine. I have mine. That's mine. And I respect each and every person's belief systems that are out there.
Sure.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Now, when you got the TV show, like that was a big break because it was funny. I know at the time, when Haunted Collector came around, you talked to me about like what the original idea was going to be, and then of course it evolves. That's I'm like things change. I get it. It's cool, but so, and you and I have both been doing this long enough to have seen like the waves come and go and come back, and and you're like, wow, they're like one of the leading paranormal experts, Joe Schmo from Idaho, and you're like, Joe Schmo, I've never heard of Joe Schmo. I've never like, like, oh, that was that kid that wanted my autograph last year, and now he's the leading expert, and he's got his own show, and it's a funny thing, and I get like the frustration you must feel, like, let me show you how to really do it. Let me show you like how the OG does it here. When you get that moment, when you start filming, do you feel a lot of pressure? Like, hey, I'm not some kid that's just wet behind the ears. Like, I'm John Zaffis. Did you feel extra pressure on yourself when the show started?
Yes, I did. I felt the pressure I felt, Jeff, that I strived for and I fought for, and unfortunately it didn't happen, is I wanted to be Johnny Zaffis. I wanted to be me.
Yeah.
I caught up. I joke. That's me. I am not a very serious person. The more crazier things get, the more I joke around. And again, I wanted that to really come through. And, with everybody, there, especially working with two of my three kids, my oldest daughter wasn't involved with it. The one thing that I walked away with, Jeff, with that is my son Chris and Amy, we bonded more doing that TV show than we ever did.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because we really all got to know each other. And it was on a totally different level, of hanging out and, being around each other and everything. So out of anything, that was one of the key aspects that came out of that. But what I would have strived more for was with it being more of where they saw that interaction and they seen the joking and the humor, because I think I still feel that way today. People enjoy that. They love seeing that. That's what it's all about. Not this stereotype that, gets presented where everything's got to be, very straight laced. I just don't fit that character. I don't.
No, I know. And it's so hard, right? Like, you just want to be real. And I get it. And dude, believe me. So we've talked to some of the same producers over the years, and I'm like, be funny with it. Have some fun. Yeah. And the only one show got to have fun. Ghost Brothers. Right?
I loved it. I used to.
They're great. They're fantastic.
They got the biggest kick out of it when I was talking to them, and I ran right up to them and I go, They go, "You're kidding." I said, "No, you're making me laugh. You're saying it. You're doing it. You're going in to investigate, and you're enjoying it." Yeah. And I said, I was eating every minute of it up. I used to love watching the episodes.
Yeah, and I said they got the show we all wanted. Right, we wanted to go in with our buddies and goof around and show the funny side. And then when we get serious, like you said it before, we're all chatting, and then when we get quiet, ooh, something good's happening, right? Like let that be the dynamic of the show. And it's such a shame that but you know what? That's why we get to do events. We get to show real personality and then how's that beer doing, by the way?
Still doing good, bud.
Still doing it. So one of the things that happens at these events, sometimes there's a karaoke or scarioke, as we call it. So what happens when you're at an event with John Zaffis and karaoke starts is a bunch of people are going to get up there and they're going to want to do one song. And I thought, well, John, you wanted to be like at the bar after an event. Here we are, buddy. We're doing it, right? Everybody, if there's something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call? John Zaffis. Something weird and it don't look good. Who you gonna call? John Zaffis. And that's how we do.
Hey, it's hysterical. No matter where I go, everybody does that. It makes me that started up in Michigan.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I was there.
Tim and Brad started that, and every year we have to do that. It's just a riot. But
any requests before I put this away? I thought we'd get in a little karaoke.
I liked it. I liked it.
Hey, I mean, you deserve it. You deserve the best. Cheers. Whoopa.
Cheers, buddy. Opa.
Oh yeah, no, I miss the events bad. I miss the camaraderie, and
Yes.
also too, like I mean, I know people come up and show us orb photos of their grandmas and stuff like that, but also it's amazing the networking that you get to do with people and hear what
Unbelievable.
resonates with them the most, right? The thing where they're just you think it's like a throwaway thing, and they go that one story you did or that one investigation. That's my family. Like that hits me here, and you realize how deeply personal this stuff can be.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's powerful. Now I want to get into a little bit of demonology because there was a time, and it's a time you probably like shake your head at. I'm going to say 12 years ago, give or take, right? When everybody was a demonologist, and not only was everybody a demonologist, pretty much everybody said, "I'm a demonologist who studied under John Zaffis." and I have a stack of business cards this thick of people that said like demonologist who studied, and I'm like, I know John Zaffis. I don't think he's not like Hogwarts, right? Like and like there was this whole legion of people out there claiming to be like your disciples, and I know on the one hand you had something to say about it, but was that hard for you to be like, oh man, this is not an endorsement?
The one thing that and it even bothers me to this day because even recently that's come up where there's been a couple of people that I'm a demonologist and I worked under John Zaffis. They didn't even live even on the East Coast, Jeff. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing. We never did no cases. We never worked together or anything. Again, most people, especially today, I always tell people, be careful what you're saying and doing. 99.9% of the people out there involved with putting any of these gigs on, doing TV shows, I know them personally. They're my friends.
sure.
So people will pick up the phone and they will ask me, and then at that point, I will never publicly do anything in any way, shape, or form against anybody. But, it's a difficult thing again. And what bothers me more than anything is I just wish people would be careful when they go in and they start doing these houses and people start screaming, there's demons coming up through the floorboards. It's not the way it goes.
You seem to have been shifting away from demonology in the last few years.
Yes.
And was that really conscious to just be like, enough, or is it just you felt called somewhere else?
No, I'm very guarded with a lot of it. And again, with it, it's not where I'm very comfortable. And a lot of spiritual people I know, Jeff, are very, very uncomfortable with getting involved with it on a public end.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them that are legitimate in this and they had their calling, they want to follow through with it, but they're not interested in any PR or anything else. And I respect that about a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I keep a lot of it that I get involved with quote unquote, the real demonic cases, the true possession, which is rare, or, the demonic cases. A lot of it just never comes to the forefront. Right, and again, right. I just respect it that way.
Marvin Anderson makes a good comment here. He says, I'm a Coors Light expert who studied under John Zaffis. I think you have his endorsement on that one, Marvin. Doesn't
yes,
take
he
much.
does.
Yeah. 2 or 3 of those and you're pretty much an expert. That's not all it takes. Oh God. What's next? What should we talk about next? What do you want to talk football, baseball, sports? Like tell me, go.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
No shameless plugs. Come on. Something totally different. Tell me about weeding. Do you do the Scott's 4 plan or what?
Nah. I think my landscaper used to. This is my first year doing it in many, many years, and I'm just out there, pushing the lawnmower around, and I get down there and start weeding and pulling everything up and everything like that. Then I'm just standing there going, this is a lot of freaking work.
Listen, I love cutting my lawn, and I'll tell you why. You know what a Zen garden is, right? Where you just rake the sand and like produce patterns.
Yeah.
So when I cut my lawn, and I've always enjoyed doing it, I don't have a very big lawn. It's a small yard, but it's like I just make neat little rows back and forth. And when I do it, I don't think about anything at all. My mind is completely blank. Like I'm not pondering ideas. It's just boom, just the hum of the motor and the lines. it centers me, John. It centers me.
Dude, I bought one of the powered push lawnmowers.
Well, yeah, we're
You
getting
know,
old.
yeah, but no, dude, I'm really screwed up because I got almost an acre of property I'm cutting.
All right.
And my wife says, "Are you out of your freaking mind? You're gonna drop dead out there." I go, "No, it propels itself." But it is, it's the greatest thing in the world. I didn't want to pick up another riding lawnmower, but
John, I think
and,
I've had a lot
yeah,
to drink because you just went blurry.
I know.
Move move
What's that all
closer.
about?
Move
See,
closer. No, really, like, yeah, you went blurry. That's
dude, what
crazy.
happened there?
You just got into beer vision.
Dude, I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. You know what? Everybody's
Hey,
probably had a few drinks now, so you probably are perfectly in focus. It's
see me as Casper the Ghost. I don't know what's happening there.
it's not John Zaffis anymore. It's someone else. It's an imposter. Tell me about this death head, this death mask that you have. That's some old school stuff, huh?
Oh yeah, we were investigating this old mansion here in Connecticut, and the woman that owned it, she was very tough, very staunch, very wealthy, and she passed away. And they left a lot of her heirlooms and things in there. And one of the things that was left behind was her death mask. Well, during the investigation and everything, we had pulled it out. I don't have it. I wish I did, but the owners of the property at the point wanted to keep it, which was perfectly fine. Dude, I don't understand why that's staying blurry.
Yeah.
But anyhow, talking about it, we were doing EVPs around it. When we would take it out and put it in the center of the floor, we'd have all kinds of activity that would take place in this house and everything. So it was a really pretty cool thing. But you stop and think about that. That's such a personal item. There we go. Such a personal item, of a person to have something like that. Again, it was creepy and it was wild. It's the first time I ever held an actual death mask of an individual.
Yeah, I mean that was made from someone's face, right? Like
Yeah,
at post mortem, right? That was the whole point.
right. Yeah.
Um,
Years ago, that was a very popular thing where they would take the plaster of Paris, put it on a person so that when, they passed away, they can, create them and put their makeup and everything on like they did when they were alive. So there's quite a few of those out there.
so it occurs to you somewhere along the way. It occurred to me anyway. Years ago, I was like, wow, we're really very much in the death business. We just
Mhm,
are, right?
mhm,
Like, I mean, morticians than us, and
mhm.
that's what this is about, right? Like, we should all both have work forever,
I hope so.
Do you ever think about like your own mortality? I mean, you joked about like, I'm done haunting or whatever, but do you ever like really sit down and go, whoa? I mean, the Catholic boy in you was raised a certain way. I remember those teachings. I'm sure we had the same relative upbringing as far as that spirituality goes, but they don't get into like ghosts and poltergeists and demons and all that stuff. It's just you die and you go to purgatory. If you were just metza metza, you go to heaven if you were good.
Yeah,
And so suddenly like we look at all these in between things, and I don't know, like I start wondering a lot about it. And I'm younger than you, a lot younger, I might add, a lot younger.
I don't know because I don't ever I don't fear anything. I don't
Okay.
fear. Yeah, I don't fear that there's going to come the point I'm going to leave the physical body because I know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, do I think there's a heaven or a hell or a purgatory? I don't know. I don't know the clear cut answers because I believe in so many different aspects of things. Are there different levels, different planes that we go on? I don't know. But I know there's something that happens with that energy once it leaves the physical body. And it can communicate and it can go back and forth. So therefore, I still look at that. And I'm I'm Roman Catholic, but I believe in reincarnation. Again, do I believe that reincarnation occurs, that it happens? Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that occurs. There's too much documentation. There's too many stories out there that I can't dismiss it anymore. You just
Hmm.
can't. So I look at things and view things a lot differently. And the other thing too, I don't worry so much now is because the kids are grown, I'm comfortable. My wife's comfortable. She knows someday I'm going to die. She's going to die. We're going to die. It's just going to happen. But
So depressing.
it is what it is.
Right.
The only thing I freaking worry about is I say to my 3 kids all the time, I go, well, who wants what in the house? And we're big collectors of all kinds of garbage,
Yeah.
and
Right.
yeah, and it's just amazing that today. A lot of times they're just not interested in keeping those types of things, or So I just want to make sure I'm around to watch that big estate sale when it takes place after my wife and I are gone.
No, not that. That's the
Yes,
devil's in
because I'm
that
going to
one.
kick my kids in the ass when they sell all my stuff.
Yeah. No. Well, so I got to do the Zaffis family panel back at the last Michigan Paracon. I got to moderate that.
Yeah.
Do you think your kids show an interest in like taking over the family business, or is it just kind of like a passing thing to bond with dad?
No, I did. The three of them pay more attention to stuff now than they ever did before.
Okay.
They get involved with it. I'll tell you this: all three of them do not like to deal with anything on the dark side.
Okay.
Again, they're very guarded. They're very careful with it. Amy, to this day, I know I do look like Santa Claus.
When
I'm the
you're
ghost of
blurry.
Santa Claus, and I'm blurry. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's doing that. But anyhow, again, Chris has an interest in it with some of it. He likes speaking on the topic and doing things. Because I get the biggest kick out of him when he'll bring friends over and they'll go through the museum. He knows all the stories. He knows all the things, and I just go, you pay more attention than I ever thought you did.
Hmm.
And Amy, very much with the research. She loves looking. Yeah, it is a haunted camera. She does. She does love researching things, and she loves knowing about them. So
Yeah.
again, I don't know what'll end up happening down the road if one of the three of them or all three of them might get involved. Who knows? We'll have to see.
They'll get a show where they can joke around and have fun with it, and you'll be like, "Damn it!
That
Why?
I'd be happy with.
Why couldn't I do that?"
That I'd be happy with. Oh, that's driving me nuts.
I know. I have no idea. Well, it's probably
Haunted.
John. In my professional opinion, you got a demon.
I've been told that, buddy.
That's game, set, match right there. All right, we have one other haunted item to talk about. We only have a few minutes left. There's this desk which looks like anything out of a school, like a school desk or whatever. So what's the story behind this one?
This is the coolest story. I got called in to go onto this campus. They had bought a old orphanage that was shut down. It was upstate New York.
Yep.
And one night, 50 children were killed by smoke inhalation. They were all locked in the rooms. As we know, many, many years ago, they were pretty rough with the orphans and everything, not like today. But anyways, the school bought it. They built a big campus all around it and everything. And this one building had a tremendous amount of activity. They couldn't have offices, classes, or anything. So I got called in. We did an investigation. We went up to the third floor, which was pretty much left intact. There were 2 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
One room had all those old-fashioned desks and chairs in it, and the other room was empty. We set up to do the investigation in the room that was empty. One of the students went into the other room, grabbed this, brought it in. He was a football player for campus. He put it in the middle of the floor. He sat in it, Jeff, and he goes, Mr. Zaffis, if there's anything in here or anything, I want to see something. I want something to happen. I'm standing there, close my eyes, I cringe, and that chair slid right across the floor with the student in it.
Whoa.
And he was a big dude.
Yeah.
Dude, he couldn't get out of that chair fast enough, ran right off of campus, and it caused this big hullabaloo on campus and everything, and they got very upset over it. Kids were running out of the building, screaming and hollering. It was an amazing thing, but again, that chair today is still in my museum, and I just keep it as a remembrance of what actually transpired and happened in that old orphanage building.
That's cool that they let you keep it. They're probably
Yeah.
We'll pay you extra to take it away, right? I mean,
right.
Get this thing out of here. And that's the funny thing when we start to fixate on something. You had talked about an item that's got like bad juju attached to it or bad energy. Once we fixate on a thing, and it doesn't even have to be a thing, right? It could be a time. We're talking about COVID or quarantine, or some people have been into this quarantine and they're just like spiraling down into a depression because they don't know what else to do. Other people are living their best lives. The rest of us are in between somewhere.
Well, definitely, and I think with the quarantine, with all of us or anything. I definitely think that again, it heightens the energy with all of us. I think it's can cause a lot of supernatural, paranormal activity to transpire and occur. So again, we have to take all that into consideration because, like I said, I think once the floodgates open back up, I think we're going to be venturing into a whole new way of looking at things. I think a lot of us are going to be going back out there looking at things differently. Our perspectives have changed, and I think we're just looking at a lot of John, it is drunk. I do think I can't figure out what's wrong with it, but anyhow,
Fine, we can hear you fine.
yeah, again, it is what it is. But I think, Jeff, when all of us enter back out there, whenever that's going to be at this given point in time, I think a lot of us are going to be looking at things a little bit differently because we had a lot of time to reflect. We had a lot of downtime where we just looked at things different. We're looking at things and looking and viewing things differently. I know I am.
Yeah.
I am.
How has this changed you? How do you think like you've evolved in just the last few months? How's John Zaffis different?
I calmed down even more than what I already was. I mean, I've gotten much more relaxed. I mean, a lot of times I'd reach a point where I would just get hyper, and now I'm not because I'm looking at it as, you know what, I'm just glad I'm still here. Yeah, just looking at it, and I think when we go back out, we're going to have a lot of individuals to deal with a lot of people that have lost people behind this one way or another, whether associated, with the COVID-19 or in another way. I think there's going to be a lot more where people are going to be taking that step back and just looking at it a little bit differently.
So think about this. I think one of the most tragic parts there's been many tragic parts of this quarantine, but I think one of the worst is when someone died of anything, right? You can't be by their side in the hospital as they're dying. Funerals, you can't have gatherings for funerals, which means you don't get the closure. A funeral, the whole point of the funeral is closure, or try to, right?
Yes.
Come together, support those that are most affected, say your goodbyes, have that closure. And if you don't get to have that, then shoot, does that leave doors open, right? Do we have 3-4 months now of open doors for God knows how many people? There you are. Hey, John Zaffis is here, ladies and gentlemen.
I just moved it again. I'm telling you, it's haunted.
Yeah, it's haunted, clearly. But you know what I mean? That's what it is, right?
Yes. Do I think a lot of that's going to affect a lot of things? Absolutely. Because we don't know how to deal with that. We're not having closure. People haven't been able to be near people. They haven't been able to say their goodbyes to them. And a lot of people can't handle it. And I can understand it, and I can relate to it because my wife and we're night and day with this. Me, I don't want a wake. I don't want a funeral. Cremate me. Kumbaya. I'm on my way. All right. Where, she believes in the very old traditional way of doing a wake, saying the goodbyes and doing the whole thing.
Wait a minute. You don't want a funeral? I don't think that should be your decision. And I'll tell you why.
My God, you sound like my kids.
It doesn't matter. I'll tell you why it's not your call. Because a funeral it's not about you. You're already moved somewhere else. It's about there's a few words I would like to say. I would very much like to say a few words at your funeral. I'd like to go up to your casket in front of everybody with an audio recorder and do an EVP session and be like, John, where's the keys to the museum?
I would sit up and bust out laughing.
Yeah. Don't close the casket yet. Wait, I've got something to put in there. And I would be like, put this in there with him. Put that in. Just rest it on his. And I want to see if it lights up. That would be my hope. Don't deny me that, John. Come on.
Gosh.
So no, but I do have actually strong feelings. I know some people I don't want to fuss. I know you don't want to fuss, but funerals are about the rest of us. It's about the rest of us getting that community, that closure that we need. And of course we don't always get that closure even at a funeral, but damn it, we try, and that's the funny thing as we get older and face this and you start looking at the whippersnappers that are coming up and as speaking at these things and you're like, oh man, I remember that. That was been a long time,
No, I'm all for having a party. They can have a party and have a big celebration.
All right.
That I think would be great. Put my ashes there. Have drinks around me, have food around me. That I'd love.
Lots of Coors Light. Lots of Coors Light at that. At that Zaffis funeral, it's going to be something special. John, it's been an hour, and
Wow.
I know
yeah.
it's been an hour, and my beer's almost gone. There's just like a sip left.
Cheers, my friend.
That's my cue, I think. That's your cue. Cheers. I appreciate you coming on, joining us in the speakeasy, having some Coors Light and some good conversation. It's been a pleasure to see you. Let's not be strangers, huh?
Well, hey, as soon as this COVID's gone in, all those old timers can come back out. We'll be out there.
Us old timers. Wait a minute. Damn it. I know. One more thing. I remember you and I spoke at the same event. This was in Connecticut 800 years ago. I think Nixon was president at the time. There was 6 speakers and I think 5 people in the audience.
I think we've all had a lot of those.
Yeah, this was way, 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 way back. And I just remember being like, I think I wore like a tie or stuff, which, I don't even know how to tie them anymore or clip them on. And it was just funny to be like, wow, here we are just trying. And I was like, wow, that's John Zaffis. And I'm like, look at me speaking at the same thing. My first book had just come out and here we are still talking like that was 16, 17 years ago.
Huh? Well, that's one good thing, Jeff, and I'm always very appreciative to so many people out there. You're my friends. Got nothing to do with the work. We're friends.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, brother, I appreciate you.
All right, buddy.
Please stay safe, everybody out there. Please stay safe. Be kind to each other. Do what you can to make the world a little bit better, and of course, take it easy.